We've all been paying into the Medicare system our entire lives through taxes. So why, once we go on Medicare, do we still have almost $200 more per month, or more than that we need to pay in premiums, or $1,600 deductibles before Medicare will start to pay for our hospital stay, or a couple $100 deductibles and 20% coinsurance with no maximum on how much we could be on the hook to pay? Shouldn't this all be free? Unfortunately, that's not how Medicare works. It is not free, and if you're going on Medicare, you need to be prepared for that. Remember, this channel explains how things currently work, not how we wished they work. So here are a few reasons why Medicare isn't free. Let's talk about those taxes that we pay into Medicare. Surely those dollars over 50 plus years is enough to pay for full Medicare benefits, right? Well, every dollar of those taxes go to help fund Medicare Part A, just Part A. It doesn't even fully fund Part A costs. It accounts for 89% of Part A costs, and we still have Part B, Part C, and Part D. For those of you who have worked at least 40 quarters, meaning 10 years, contributing through your payroll taxes, you get premium-free Medicare Part A. If you have worked fewer than 40 quarters and thus would not qualify for premium-free Part A on your own, but your spouse did work 40 quarters, you still get to enjoy premium-free Part A. So now we have two people getting full Part A premiums covered off of fewer than 2 full payment records. So just looking at Part A, hopefully we can see that the dollars that we pay in through payroll taxes are not enough to cover the costs for Medicare Part A alone, not to mention all of the other parts of Medicare. The 8% of Part A funding actually comes from taxing Social Security. If you didn't know already, depending on how much income you make, your Social Security income could be taxable. And we have a video all about that right up here. The rest of the Part A expenses are taken care of through general government revenue, Part A premiums from those who did not have the work history and do not have a spouse with the work history and thus are paying premiums, and other funding mechanisms. Having no premiums for Part A is nice, but there are some costs that you would be responsible for that are important to understand. With Part A, which is your hospital coverage, think of it as your rent to stay in the hospital. You're responsible to pay a deductible of $1,632 in 2024. You pay this before Medicare starts to help out at all. That is not an annual deductible. It is a per benefit period deductible, meaning you could have multiple Part A deductibles in a single year. If you are in the hospital for longer than 60 consecutive days, you have daily copays, and if your stay extends longer than 90 days, you have still higher daily copays. Part A does cover your first 20 days 100% in a skilled nursing facility after you've paid that deductible, but you will have copays for days 21 through 100. And if you're in a skilled nursing facility longer than 100 days, you are responsible for 100% of the cost. Let's move to Part B for a minute, because Part B has a monthly premium that everybody gets to pay except those on Medicaid. Premiums start at $174.70 per person per month in 2024, and then they go up for those with higher incomes. Let's show you that chart. Pause here if you want to spend more time on this chart. These amounts are per person, so couples, you each need to pay these amounts. They're doing a 2-year look back on your income, and you can see the levels depending on if you file your taxes as a single or jointly with your spouse. Part B also has a deductible. This one is an annual deductible, and in 2024, it's $240 that you need to pay first before Part B starts to cover things. Then Part B will cover 80% of Medicare-approved services given by providers and facilities that participate with Medicare, and then you are responsible to cover the remaining 20% of the costs with no maximum. If, heaven forbid, you have $1 million in Part B costs, you would need to come up with $200,000. And for those of us dealing with family who is going through cancer and chemo treatments right now, this is a reality. And even with all of this cost responsibility shared by you, yes, you are reading that correctly. Your Part B premiums only account for 25% of Part B costs. 75% of Part B costs are paid for by general revenue, not by your premiums, not by dollars brought in by Medicare. So we are essentially getting a 75% discount on our Part B premiums absorbed by other government revenue. 2 more parts to go here. I'm going to circle back to Part C in a minute. Let's look at Part D first, which is prescription drug coverage. You have monthly premiums with Part D. Those with higher incomes also have higher Part D costs, much like Part B. And here's that chart for you. You would find the number associated with your single tax status or your joint tax status, depending on how you file, and add the number associated with your income from 2 years ago onto your Part D premiums. Again, these are per person, so couples, You are each paying that. Higher income enrollees pay a larger share of the cost of Part D coverage as they do for Part B. Plus, you will still have a deductible. The typical deductible in 2024 is $545, and you will still have copays and coinsurance up to about a $3,300 max out of pocket for drug coverage in 2024. And even with all of that cost responsibility on you, here is how Part D is funded. 73% is from general revenue, 15% is from beneficiary premiums, especially those additional premiums from higher income folks, and 11% is from the states. Now, Part C is the Medicare Advantage program. Advantage plans take on the risk of Part A, Part B, and some of Part D, meaning that the government doesn't pay those claims anymore. The insurance companies that offer the Advantage plans and have people on those Advantage plans pay those claims. In exchange, the government sends payments to the Advantage plan insurance companies to take on that risk. These dollars come from the Part A fund and the Part B fund budgets that we have discussed. Our Medicare tax contributions only account for 1/3 of Medicare funding. Our Part B premiums only account for 15%. Social Security taxes make up another 3%. For every dollar that you and I put into Medicare through taxes or premiums, we are still $1 short of paying for this ourselves, on top of the other cost-sharing dollars that we've talked about, like deductibles, copays, and coinsurance. If we multiply that across 66 million people on Medicare right now, how big is that bill? Well, in 2023, it's $1.02 trillion with a T dollars, between 11 and 12% of the total federal budget. So that was the long answer. The overly simplified answer as to why Medicare isn't free: the dollars coming in are $500 billion less than what would be needed to fully fund it with the cost-sharing mechanisms that we currently experience, and much more than that to make it all the way free. The program currently doesn't and couldn't fund itself solely through taxes and premium revenues tied directly to it. With all of those costs that we mentioned, the Part A deductible, the Part A copays, the Part B deductible, the Part B 20% coinsurance with no max, and the Part D costs that are looming over our heads, those are the framework for why Medicare Supplement, also known as Medigap plans, and Medicare Part D plans, and Medicare Advantage plans exist. And it is with this understanding of those gaps in original Medicare that we are better able to understand not only the role of supplement and advantage plans, but how each of these options tackle the cost problems in dramatically different ways, which is exactly what we cover in this video. Click there to get an in-depth look on how Medicare supplement plans and advantage plans limit the unlimited risks of original Medicare. I'll see you over there.